Hey folks, Mike Naso here with this Wednesday morning update on the tropics. It's been a heck of a week following Hurricane Ian. Here's the satellite of the entire Atlantic over the last 7 days. You can see Hurricane Ian was sitting right off southwest Florida, making a devastating Category 4 landfall there. And as we put it into motion, watch as Ian pulls on up, but never really leaves after striking South Carolina. It's stuck around here, meandering off the mid-Atlantic, and then our new wave took form and is now impacting Trinidad and Tobago with very, very flooding rainfall. There's the satellite imagery, and again, this system's very far south, but it does look like it has some model support moving west to west-northwest through the Caribbean, and it could be a problem down the road. We'll talk about this, to say nothing of the heavy rainfall that's occurring there right now. We also have a tropical depression out here just off the Cabo Verde Islands, which looked like it was going to become a tropical storm, but now it's looking like it's not going to be long-lived at all, and it should take a track out like that and dissipate. And then obviously, as I mentioned, what's left of Ian here, not a tropical depression, but certainly an impressive low-pressure area off the mid-Atlantic. Now, the recon's been flying out there, and they haven't found a closed center yet with our system in the Caribbean, so it's still an invest, but the motion should continue over the next, say, 3 or 4 days, straight to the west or the west-northwest. So if you're in Trinidad, Tobago, you're being impacted now, and then that'll spread to the ABC Islands and areas of Venezuela and Colombia, with heavy rainfall being the biggest threat as it slides to the west. Winds could become a bigger threat if it develops down the road. Here's a beautiful visible satellite imagery, and look at the thunderstorms blowing up there right over the top of it, and that is causing heavy, heavy rainfall. We've seen videos on Twitter out of areas there of Trinidad showing heavy flooding, especially in the streets, and any kind of standing water is going to flood very, very quickly. And a lot of the strongest winds that the planes were recording are up here. So areas there of Tobago, right here, this is Tobago, and Trinidad's the larger island. You guys are in for a rocky day of heavy weather. Don't think just because a system isn't a tropical storm or even a depression, or that we don't give it a name, that it doesn't have an impact. Again, this is all headed west-northwest into the Caribbean Sea, where it may develop. It might. Here's the model. This is the GFS model from 0Z, and I wanted to show you, watch what happens in the Caribbean with our wave. It turns into a tropical storm, a hurricane, then a major hurricane, and slams right there into areas of the Yucatan and Belize sometime in the next, say, 4 days. So this would be right around October 12th or so, making landfall there, and that is a very powerful looking hurricane. And that is possible given the very warm waters that we're seeing. And on this model, the GFS shows very good upper level conditions that would allow development. The good news for the United States is it looks like the track would definitely stay to the west, at least for the intense part of the storm. If it did come back somehow in the Gulf, it would be a shadow of its former self, much like Hurricane Mitch back in 1998. We don't want a Mitch or a Keith, storms that move very slowly and kind of stall over the Yucatan, causing heavy, heavy rain. The upper level wind shear, as I mentioned, shouldn't be too much of a problem in the Caribbean. Look at how much shear there is here over Florida. We could have used that last week to keep our Category 4 landfall of Ian in check, but the models really overestimated the amount of impact the shear would have on Ian. But there's very favorable upper level conditions along with warm water, so we just need this system to move away from the ABC Islands over the Caribbean and see if we get some development. Thankfully, it should stay south of Jamaica, but again, you guys in the Yucatan and Central America, you need to keep an eye out on this system big time, and we will watch it here on the IPR YouTube page. Now, you would think, what's this, Mike, a hurricane? No, but this is the ghost of Ian. This is what's left of Hurricane Ian after it moved through the Carolinas, and it's kept around here off the mid-Atlantic. And that is an impressive low-pressure area right here, sitting off of the Delaware and Maryland coastline. And the rainfall is in association with some troughiness to the north, so it's not really directly related to Ian, but it's all part of it. There's the radar, and again, look at this rainfall here in areas there of New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. You guys have the heaviest rain right now in areas there. But again, the naked swirl of Ian is still causing that rain to move in the counterclockwise direction. So I'm impressed with how it's sticking around for all that for all that it is, which isn't much. The wind speed I'm looking here, I'm seeing 23 knots, 21 knots, so it's definitely a cooler fall blustery day, in part because of the circulation around what is left of what was once a near Category 5 hurricane, Hurricane Ian, one of the worst hurricanes in the history of the state of Florida. Finally, we have our Tropical Depression 12. It's at 15.6 north, 32.0 west, winds of 35, moving west-northwest at 9. It doesn't look like it's going to become a tropical storm anymore. It should dissipate, although there is a possibility that it'll loop around later on and come back. But right now, we're not looking for that. Taking a look at the satellite imagery, it looks rather skimpy right now. We've had a lot of this, a lot of these negative waves breaking off of Africa this year. Instead of racing west and becoming hurricanes, they kind of broke north and didn't do much, or they came under the radar like Ian. But definitely a tropical depression bringing some moisture very close there to the Cape Verde Islands. Good wave here leaving Africa. It's getting to be kind of late. October 5th is getting kind of late, but we still watch these waves as they progress across the Atlantic because they could do things like that, show up in the Caribbean islands. So again, Trinidad, Tobago, you guys are getting rained on pretty good. Just tough it out for the next day, and this system will move into the Caribbean, and it could develop. We're going to watch it very carefully and see if this system does what the GFS has been showing and becomes a hurricane in the Western Caribbean. A blustery day here in the mid-Atlantic and New England with the leftovers of Ian, a ghostly appearance for a ghastly, historic Atlantic hurricane. I'm Mike Naso, and I'll talk to you guys next time with more on the tropics.